Program hopping, we've all done it, right? The moment things start getting difficult or there's a bit of complication in your training or there's any plateau, you switch everything, all right? You either switch your training plan, you either switch like your whole ethos or your mindset, you jump from low volume to high volume, really, really high intensities to low intensities. And this isn't me bashing anyone, obviously. Like I say, we've all been there. I've done the same before. But this video is just about things that I wish people told me before and I didn't fall down the slope, and so that you don't fall down the slope too. So what actually is like program hopping in general? So what it looks like overall is you start a new plan, everything's brand new, you know, fresh. I'm gonna start tomorrow. I found the Holy Grail. This is the answer. So you do it for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and then suddenly you basically just switch to something else completely. And it won't be a small tweak like, you know what, I'll drop down the intensity or I'll push up the intensity, something like that. It's going to be a whole new overhaul. So your plan from what you left it as, and you would given it a few weeks or a month, and before it's actually gone ahead and done anything, you've changed everything. Can be a few reasons, obviously. So you might see someone else like online, maybe you look at some reviews of a new machine, or you see someone that's basically giving out new information. Like you're watching this now as well. Obviously I'm giving some information as well, but you'd see someone saying hack squats is definitely better than leg press, or leg extensions will do all the heads of your quads, scrap everything else. You don't need a squatting movement, do it. And then you look at your plan and it says hack squats, leg press, and you're thinking, oh no, you know what? If this does all the quads and I'm kind of finding this a bit difficult, or this isn't my plan, when this does all the heads, why don't I swap it for that? That makes a change. You see the same for a back machine, you see the same for a chest machine, and you do it again. And before you know it, you've got a whole new program and you've not let it do anything. You've not let your current plan actually do anything or build anything for you. And if you're like frustrated with your progress a little bit, because you know, progress isn't very, very easy to measure sometimes. I can completely understand that. I've been there. Like you'll see a week or two where some of the weights don't move, or some of the weeks where your recovery has been poor, so you've genuinely struggled a little bit going into the gym. And it's very easy now because you go online or you read something or you speak to people, it's very, very easy to basically blame the frustration or put it on something else rather than sort of fixing what you have now, because of like the overload of information and so much contradicting information that is already there. You'd read sources that, like I say, leg extension is better, this is better. So you read those sources and you look into it and you'll find more comfort, or you'll find a more logical solution, rather than looking at this whole thing as a sport or an art of bodybuilding, that's what they call it. We look at it like a prescription, like one size fits all. And that's where inevitably those traps will fall into, program hopping. And you might see some people in the gym basically super excited about a new machine. If you're doing standard, bog standard, you know, back T-bar rows or whatever, and it's a brand new machine with double rows or twisty handles or something like that, whatever. And then you have a fear of missing out, like that person there, that movement looks wicked. Maybe I'm missing out on some sort of back gains. Things might be progressing, by the way. You might be falling completely in line with your progress or your progression rates that you may have set for yourself, or you're physically, you know, you're improving, but you want to improve even more. And after maybe a few times of you program hopping, it becomes a habit. It's so easy to do, you know, because this is what happens when you program hop. Okay, even if you change an exercise, you start a new exercise, you start a new movement, or you change your approach, you build a new plan, your numbers will go up. Almost guaranteed, your numbers will always go up. And then you're like, see, I made the right decision. I made the right decision. This is why I wanted to change my exercise. This is why I wanted to change my plan. This is why I wanted to do this approach, because look, it's been a week already and I'm already moving up. When my other program, I was on it for 2 weeks. I was on it for 3 weeks. I was on it for a month, 2 months, and my weight was moving up slowly. This is progressing fast. There we go. And that feeling in itself can create that addiction or the need or want to basically move into a new plan, a new approach, a new ethos. And once you do it once, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again, you find yourself spiraling. And then that feeling you chase of instant progression, like your newbie gains that would have given you, that's hard to let go of. And wait, before you think like, hang on, what's wrong with that? If he's progressing and then he changes again and it progresses again, what's wrong with that? That's what we're here for, aren't we? We're here for progression. This is the problem, okay? When you were new or you were slightly newer, did you, or hopefully you done some sort of program like an A-B sort of thing? That's something I currently am running as well, just so I can get back into swing of things. What it is, the more you train a certain exercise, the quicker you progress on it, okay? After a while, that thing stalls, so you get into a bit of a zone where obviously then your real progress starts. We'll touch on that in a moment. But when you switch to another exercise, it's the exact same thing. Your nervous system hasn't been basically accustomed to that new exercise that you're doing. So it's not a case where your muscles are suddenly growing. It's your nervous system, your physiology overall is adjusting to that new movement. So where you would have felt uncomfortable on the first week because your brain's kind of figuring things out, because every exercise obviously has kind of different points where it will leverage different parts. The next week you go in, obviously it will improve, and that will purely be because your nervous system is now adjusting to the exercise, and everything feels a lot more comfortable. And you would think, my legs are grown. This is it, this is perfect, this is what I did this for. And then exactly where you're left with, in the same position as when you started that program hop, that exercise 2-3 weeks later becomes a bit difficult. Progression becomes a bit slower, or things start getting a bit tough. And then you basically see the next best thing, or you go online again and say, is my fatigue management good enough? Am I training too hard? You start questioning yourself again, and then before you know it, you've done this again and again before, and you'll do it again. You program hop. Okay, you program hop again. To summarize that, everyone that's doing this, if you program hop consistently, you are always in a zone where you're basically adapting to things. So rather than being like in a growth phase, growing phase, if anyone asks what you're training for, you can easily say, oh, I'm in an adaptation phase. So I think before we figure out exactly what the fix is, we need to know what is the real cause for muscle growth, okay? Mechanical tension, how much tension goes on the muscle. And I'm sure you all know this already by now. So contrary to belief in the past where people said it tears your muscle fibers and when you eat protein, it fills them up bigger again, and rebuilds it. I don't know where that came from. I believed it when I was new, it's a nightmare. But what actually happens is there's tension introduced to your muscle. It might be obviously very, very high intensity or whatever you do, that tension is introduced to that muscle. It basically sends signals to the body all around to adapt to that new stress. And it does it in the way where it looks at it and says, okay, this is, what is this? So I need to grow because I can't sustain this tension. I can't sustain it. So what I need to do is make myself stronger. Now, different exercises obviously create tension, different rep ranges, different styles. And that's the point, okay? They all create mechanical tension. It's less the point of what exercise is creating that tension, it's more so whether that tension is progressively being added on over time. And then you would use, obviously, progressive overload. That's not the main driver, but it's really, really important. So that's another tool, or that is the main tool that you would use. So increase that tension signal over time, whether that be increase in weight, increase in reps, better technique, just essentially any package you can put together to put more demand on that muscle. And that is what you're after. And in that principle, no matter how you apply it, super high intensity to a point, and your volume is basically on the lower end of the scale, or your volume is higher in the scale and your intensity is lower, whatever training style you choose, as long as that variable there with the mechanical tension and progressive overload in place, that will be the reason why you grow. That will be it, okay? So I'm sure, okay, there's quote unquote, there's a better way to train, there's a better way here, there's a better way there, but what is the way that you will stick to? I've said this in my other video just now, recently, basically speaking about there's no two bodybuilders that train the same. All the greats you can look into, Ronnie Coleman, Schwarzenegger, Leveroni, they'll borrow things from here and there, Mensa, but no two people train the same. Just like in real life, in your life as well, no two people are trained the same way. So essentially, as long as that principle is applied and it works for you in a system that you've created or you've been able to create, or you've got a coach or you've got some plan online or whatever, that is going to cause growth. So stop basically using your mental energy sort of planning so much, analyzing so much, looking for the perfect plan. That's the principle I gave you, mechanical tension plus progressive overload, use that as a package. No matter how you apply those two things together, that'll be the reason that causes growth. The fix is kind of in that little sentence, I guess, because obviously paralysis by analysis is a huge thing. You look into one thing, you look into Jordan Peters, the way he trains and his ethos, and you look into someone like AJ Morris, anyone else, you look into their ethos and you'll find yourself kind of trapped. Inaction is always the worst. You'd rather do something but not do it that well. You'll get way further than the guy that's just frozen, that's stuck in headlights, a deer stuck in headlights basically. So you don't want to be paralyzed. Get yourself in the field, but remember, if you struggle with something like that, keep repeating to yourself. Progressive overload is very, very important, which is a mechanism I'm going to use to introduce maximum mechanical tension that I can produce. Okay, there's other things involved, which I'll make another video about, like your joints, your ligaments, your tendons. They are always there as well. They need recovery as well. Your central nervous system. I'll make a separate video for that. And for all the intermediates watching, which will probably be all of you, this is where you need to stick it out the most, okay? With beginners, everyone knows you can do a lot of things wrong, or you can do a lot of things just as is, and you'll grow, okay? You can probably program hop as well. I completely understand that, and that works for many reasons. Intermediates, which is who this video is for, because I'm an intermediate as well, we're looking at staying the course. That is our ingredient for success. mechanical tension, using that, knowing that that's the main driver of hypertrophy. Progressive overload is mainly the tool that we're going to use and apply to merge with that, so to reach there basically, which is mechanical tension, so using it as a tool. And then staying the course, that's where most of the intermediates will win. Now, obviously, I don't want this message to come across incorrectly. I'm not saying basically pick the shittest plan out there or pick something completely wrong and you'll be completely fine as long as you stick to it. That's not how things work. I'm saying there needs to be a basic framework, a basic structure, and that's more than you will ever need. These things you probably already know. There's so many more extra knowledgeable channels out there that will reaffirm this, but let's go through them just so we know, so it ties into this video properly. Frequency is the main, frequency is one of them. About 2 to 3 times per week for your body parts. That's what you want to average around for frequency when you're training. As you get fitter, you may be able to tolerate slightly higher frequencies, but that's a conversation for another day. But generally you want to be around 2 to 3 per week per body part. Intensity management. So you're kind of looking at basically managing some of these exercises properly. So you don't want to go to 0 reps in reserve and get pinned down if you're doing a squat, for example, a weighted dip, a weighted pull-up. These big movements, try and build the program in a way where those exercises are trained in a controlled environment where, let's say for a squat, you're doing about 4 to 6 reps, for example. That's your rep range, that's your double progression method, 4 to 6 reps, okay? And when you've obviously maxed out the top end of the set, you basically move up. But you don't want to be in a position where you've got one more, it's going to be an extreme grind, you're about to die, it's going to fall over, but you take it anyway and you get pinned in. The more of those sets that you introduce, the more damaging it will be, the less you'll get out of it, because there'll be a point where in that set, your job's done. Okay, that would have been the last set, the last rep, where it would have been very difficult, but it wasn't so grindy that you know the next one is going to collapse. So you take that set, you take that rep, and that'll be job done. That set is finished. You no longer need to put yourself through an extreme grindy rep where you're going to get pinned down, and you do it to the next exercise as well, you do it to the next exercise as well. There's a place for that, and we'll speak about that as well. But you don't want to be constantly pinning yourself down and basically failing on a movement that is that demanding for your central nervous system. So intensity management is very important. It'll be dips, squats, deadlifts, pull-ups, like weighted. So those exercises, you do not want to be like sort of failing to the point where you're at -1 reps in reserve, you're at 0 reps in reserve. You don't want to be there, okay? You want to get maximum stimulus out of there. I normally favor lower rep ranges for that exercise, for those exercises, because they're already so taxing, and you can load them up quite heavy, and they'll be, you can have your most energy there. It'll be a safe movement to do. 4 to 6 reps, job done. You can accumulate more volume or mechanical tension across the rest of the week doing other exercises. So it's not all bad, but I'm saying as a consistent basis to do this long term for years and years to come, you don't want to be training to the point where on those big movements especially, you keep failing and you keep increasing the risk for injury as well as central nervous system fatigue. Chances are, if you look at any of the guys that have successfully built fantastic physiques, they have a lot of knowledge, but they may not even have some of the knowledge that you have. Okay, it'll be the case there. You might know more than some of these guys, but the reason it works for them is because they found out what was important or what was relevant to their journey. And so they might be doing 100 things wrong, but they're definitely doing 100 things that are right. And those physiques that you're after or that you're trying to build are already built on the foundation of the fact that they were able to go out there and do things and give it time and stick to things properly. So when things slow down, rather than program hopping, look at your food. Are you eating well? Are the carbs high enough? Have you got a legitimate source of food, that gives you energy rather than junk? So pizzas, your cereals and things like that. Have you got whole foods in there that provide that for you? Providing that's correct. In a cut, obviously, there'll be a case for your strength not going up that quickly or however, because that's not the time we're trying to do that. You're trying to strip off fat. That's fine. And you're looking at your sleep as well. Are you sleeping well? Do you have a little one? Do you wake up 2-3 times a night? And then is it not beneficial to sort of look into that first, or stay the course and just know your program is right, your ethos is correct. But because of this, that's the issue. So when that fixes, or however I can fix that, that will give me results. Not rehauling the whole program. You can't really do that. So yeah, you guys know enough, okay? You guys know enough. Just go out there, carve your own journey between the billions and billions of people that are trading and have their own ethos and the way it looks. Build your own. If that resonated with you and if it makes sense, and you want to watch more of these, please consider subscribing to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.